What do we know? What is the nature of knowledge? Can science tell us all there is to know? These questions and more will not be answered. Allow me instead to question instead of answer, to invite the possibility of possibility. On this night of All Hallows Eve, where the world of the known and the unknown shall meet, let the two embrace. Known and unknown, nominal and phenomenal, yin and yang, something and nothing. Tonight, they are one. Disclaimer. What you are about to see will question some deeply held beliefs. If that is the case, this piece will have done its job, bringing you to question things. This is not, however, my petition that you, the listener, should abandon science or other beliefs. Science is real. Experts should be believed as much as is appropriate. Enjoy the show. Scientism is, quote, the promotion of science as the best or only objective means by which society should determine normative and epistemological truths. Which is to say that science is the only way to truth. I would dare hypothesize that we live in a very scientism-rich world, where things are seen in perspectives that can be explained through scientific or technological methods. The brain is explained as a computer. A heart is but an organic pump. Love is just a chemical reaction that compels animals to breed. Now, I am not normally one to criticize scientifically based knowledge. In many ways, I ascribe to scientism. I feel it is likely the most important knowledge base we have at our disposal. But the epistemologist in me must ask, is science the only way? On this night of Halloween, we offer our minds to that unseen. Sans method, without experiment. The belief in that unfalsifiable, that truth which is undeniable. To be a man is to think we could know all, but the truth cares not of our moral endeavor. I've talked a lot about epistemology, but what does that even mean? Well, in short, epistemology is the branch of philosophy that is concerned with the nature of knowledge. How do we come to know things? How do we discern truth from speculation, etc.? If I could be so bold, it is my opinion that epistemology is a dying discipline. But I do not believe it should be. Instead, I see a single epistemological theory winning out. That being scientism, which is a result I am of a split mind about. Again, I am by and large a scientismist. Scientismist? Scientist? I believe in scientism. That science is, by almost every standard, the best way to discover knowledge that we know of. So, with that belief, it makes me glad that science is winning the epistemological battle. But is science's slow and steady victory good? Act 2. Anti-Scientism. This is Paul Feyerabend. He was a veteran, having served in World War II. He is a philosopher dealing with epistemology, the nature of knowledge, and he abhors scientism. But he does not hate science. He has written several books on the dangers of science when it is left unchecked. He considers himself an epistemological anarchist, which is to say he does not want any one overarching rule of ideology. I find it rather understandable. As a veteran, Feyerabend knows firsthand the dangers of unchecked science. Oh, that's right, I may have failed to mention that he was a German veteran of World War II. You know, the Nazis, the order that famously used scientific and religious beliefs to justify a master race. The same order that experimented on countless Jews, Gypsies, and other groups which they had scientific reason to believe were lesser. That infamous German group that killed millions of humans under the scientific and religious pretense that they should die. Feyerabend was an officer in that group. He knew of at least some of the horrors that the Nazis had released upon the world. He knew the horrors that unchecked science could bring about. So he advocated against it. Interestingly, Feyerabend is not arguing against science and in favor of another ideology. He argues against ideology. He writes, quote, "A truth that reigns without checks and balances is a tyrant who must be overthrown. Science has now become as oppressive as the ideologies it had once to fight." And I mean, hasn't he got a point, in a way? Science can be a cruel beast. In many ways, science is an amoral ideology. Science provides us with knowledge, but without any guidance on how to use it. Atomic power is a fundamental force in the universe. It is simply an agent of cause and effect. It cares not if it is a bomb to be detonated against thousands of civilians, or the core of a sun that allows for life to flourish. So if we too adopt science's laissez-faire attitude, morals fade in favor of progress and knowledge. Act 3. What we have left. But it doesn't take being a member of the worst order to ever walk the earth to be weary of science's effects. While he was a devout follower of science, even the likes of Stephen Hawking saw the dangers of scientific ideology. He spoke on the hazards of nuclear power and genetically engineered viruses, saying, quote, "We are not going to stop making progress or reverse it, so we must recognize the dangers and control them." The conflict here is in a difference of goals. Science is a mechanism that favors progress at any cost. It can only discover. It has no temperance for understanding. As it is a single-minded ideology, science cannot allow for the possibility of other truths. It is possible that the natural progression of scientific truth is incompatible with human happiness. And that scares me. It scares me more than any supernatural specter or horror plot ever could. What if truth conflicts with humanity? with freedom and empathy. Perhaps there is more than just scientific truth that we ought to follow. Feyerabend says, quote, "Human life is guided by many ideas. Truth is one of them. Freedom and mental independence are others. If truth, as conceived by some ideologies, conflicts with freedom, then we have a choice. We may abandon freedom, but we may also abandon truth. In many ways, it is our rejection of science that informs our morals. We know in scientific truth that we live in a world where the weak die and the strong survive. Darwinism can be both true and wrong. It may be true that we would advance if eugenics and survival of the fittest could take their course. But isn't it right to treat the sick, to help the needy, and to accommodate the differently abled? Science says, well, I don't think it matters what science says. I think it is best to keep a healthy dose of skepticism in all things, science included. Never let anything in your life be unquestionable. Though we live in a world of scientific fact, we are people who have the ability to do what is right. I believe in our supernatural ability to do what is good instead of what is correct. Happy Halloween. Hello there. I hope you liked it. I'm sure I've said this at the end of just about all my videos, but this one is a little different. This is an ideology I personally don't ascribe to, but I think it is important to question things. It's important to see that science has its limits, just as it has its strengths. I know and I understand it is kind of a false equivalency to say science is just as ideology as any other ideology and just as dangerous as any other ideology, because there are things about science that make it stand out from the crowd. First off, its ability to falsify things. Science, unlike other radical political religious ideologies, has the ability to look back and change itself. It is a constantly evolving ideology, but it is still an ideology. You may have noticed I purposefully didn't try to give the other side to this. That's because I think if I just come across as trying to make all things equal at the end of the day, we don't learn it. And coming from a perspective where science and scientific ideology and scientism is dominant, is the correct way, I think approaching it from the other angle does some good. Let me know what you think. Put a comment down in the comments section. I'm trying to improve. It's experimental, but I hope you liked. Anyway, as always, I do hope you enjoyed. I love making videos for you, and I hope you love them just as much as I love making them. Anyway, without further ado, I'll hit you with the less than 3. I'll see you later.